What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy JP. I'm back with another reaction video. Now in today's video we're gonna be reacting to Army Rangers Smoke Some Crips in 1989. So we in it for a wild one. We ain't gonna do too much talking. We're gonna get straight into the video. If it's your first time tuning into the channel, just make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the video, and also give me some suggestions what type of videos y'all like for me to react to, and I'm gonna get them done for y'all. So yeah, let's get straight into it. One.
Saturday, September 23rd, 1989. An Army Ranger who had just purchased a home on one of Tacoma, Washington's most gang-infested streets quickly became a
bad place
witness
to get a crib.
illegal activity happening out front of his home. He wasn't shy of confronting it or notifying the authorities, and soon after, he became the target of one
he
of the
was on
most
his
notorious
neighborhood
street
watch.
gangs Washington State has ever seen. And after
That's crazy. I didn't even know they had gangs. Crips in 1989 in Washington. It's probably like all the LA influence. I'm sure a lot of people from LA probably just went up there, you know, to move work and stuff like that. And I find it weird for some reason New York gets a lot of flack for having Bloods and Crips, and it's like a lot of states have Bloods and Crips before they was even out here. So I don't know why New York gets the bad rep for it, but yeah.
Shaking up the hornet's nest one too many times, his home was ambushed by the Hilltop Crips gang, but not before he invited 15 of his Ranger buddies over for a barbecue.
No, he trying to be funny.
And 10 minutes later, the Crips were fighting for their lives.
300 rounds? Sheesh. We probably was prepared.
In 1989, the neighborhood of Ash Street in Tacoma, Washington was an open-air drug market. There were several hot spots, and almost every house on the block was
houses
an
look
active and
nice.
thriving trap house. These gang infestations in the 1980s, born from the crack epidemic, flooded the streets and created an economic downturn that defined the decade. You might remember President Ronald Reagan declaring the war on drugs, or his first lady who was just like, just say no. Oh my God, that was this time. Tacoma was Washington State's ground zero of gang activity, and by the summer of 1989, it had grown blatant, middle of the day type shit, like selling crack to the ice cream man type shit. And this was all fueled by an influx of gang members moving in from California. Tacoma police had experienced nothing like it before and were really struggling to get it under control, oftentimes not even knowing how to respond to it. Ash Street neighbors consistently called police and called 911 repeatedly and got nowhere. The typical...
You know, the thing about that is probably like, I think the crack era started about 1985 or something like that. I've always heard that the reason why police wasn't really tripping about the whole situation of people selling, because it was, you know, kind of fairly new, so they didn't really know what was really going on in terms of that. So maybe that was the reason why they wasn't really, you know, being strong about people's calling about the, you know, selling drugs and stuff like that.
Response from police at the time was very mild. Community-oriented policing was a new thing, such as taking bullshit calls and pretending like it's not bullshit.
Yes, ma'am. I know you can't sleep when the dogs are barking.
But community policing was still viewed with suspicion by veteran cops who came up in the 60s and preferred the old ways, like smacking people in the head with their portable radios. At the time, Tacoma Police Chief Ray Fatelin pushed these new community policing programs so far that the Hilltop Crip Gang rose to power.
When the OGs from mounted up the streets 200 deep, when the park rangers had a
Now they rapping like they from LA.
when the average connected with them hilltop niggas, had a shootout and chased out from Cali niggas.
Staff Sergeant William Folk of the 2nd Ranger Battalion 75th Ranger Regiment purchased his home on Ash Street in hopes that the neighborhood would soon turn around. To protect that investment, he was determined to help push the drugs and gangs out by any means necessary. Which may seem crazy to most people, but Staff Sergeant Folk was not most people. He was an elite operator who at a moment's notice could hit hard and smash fucking everything. You know, Ranger shit. But violence
Now, he's
was
trained
the last
different.
thing
That's
the
not
Staff
your
Sergeant
normal human
and he
being.
remained optimistic. In the summer of 1989, Folk returned from a December deployment in Panama to find the neighborhood worse than when he left. Along with other neighbors who were honest, hardworking people, he formed a neighborhood group that pressed police.
Neighborhood watch is crazy.
The neighbors started making signs, protesting, and taking pictures of the drug dealers. Even as the tension on Ash Street rose, Chief Fatelin made a decision he would later regret. Hamstrung by budget constraints and desperately short...
I wonder if they just had like a trap house. Was it like a predominant white neighborhood and they just had a trap house there and they was just, you know, disturbing the peace? You know, I wonder if that was the case. Because for him to take the responsibility of trying to clean the whole neighborhood up, you know, like you got to know that comes with like some type of backlash. Especially at that time, ain't no cameras or nothing. So I'm sure the murder rate was pretty high. But he's a ranger, so he's trained for the best.
On the patrol side, he shifted 4 of 6 officers away from the Hilltop Crime Management Team to launch a community policing pilot project. The neighbors on Ash Street reacted with dismay. Under fire from citizens and the city council, a local Tribune covered the controversy, noting efforts by Ash Street neighbors to monitor the drug activity themselves. After the News Tribune piece, drug traffic on Ash Street slowed, but only so much. Staff Sergeant Folk was used to seeing more than 100 cars pass through his block on any given day, and after the story appeared,
oh yeah, they was posted for real.
Folk decided to install a video camera in his upstairs window to record the traffic. He organized a neighborhood barbecue as a show of public unity, set for 3 p.m. Saturday, September 23rd. He invited neighbors, friends, ranger buddies, and thought nothing more of it. The day of the barbecue, a group of Hilltop Crip gangbangers acknowledged Folk outside of his residence and gave him the gun finger.
Oh
It came
man.
from a car full of Crips. Driving by his house, the index finger pointed, thumb up, a little flip of the hand, and the mouth words, boom, boom.
Shit, that was the bad idea right there. You can't tell no Army Ranger nothing like that. He probably seen the worst of the worst. That's crazy.
The gangsters saw the video camera on Folk's house, and a few hours later they returned.
Okay. It's starting to make sense now.
Someone else took shots at the house and the video camera with a BB gun. Folk and a few ranger buddies then walked across the street to confront the out-of-shape, chain-smoking gangbangers who think they're hot.
They got the island
Folk
boys.
told them to stop throwing things at his home and the neighbors' homes, to stop shooting BBs, and to
They
instead
probably like
turn
he
their
on
lives
real
around
police time
and
watching
find
the
better
whole
ways.
neighborhood.
The gangbangers warned him to take the camera out of his window. The gangbangers suggested the staff sergeant didn't know who he was dealing with. The staff sergeant suggested the gangbangers didn't know who they were dealing with.
Sheesh.
They then told him, "Your history, bitch," and told him they were going to burn his house down and light him up as soon as the sun goes down. Folk decided to walk away, and before he returned to his home, he overheard one of the Crips stating, "I'm going to shoot that Army son of a bitch." Folk then walked inside his house. He picked up his telephone, called some more of his ranger buddies from the 2nd Ranger Battalion, and invited them over for a barbecue, suggesting it wouldn't hurt if they came armed. With translation, bring your own bullets. Hey guys, let's have
Bring
a
your
barbecue.
own bullets.
Okay, well, yeah, what are we gonna smoke? Just some Crips.
He got prepared. Them threats, he wasn't taking them lightly because he know like, shit, it's either me or them, and I ain't trying
Including
to
the
go
few
out like
rangers
that.
who were already at the barbecue and the rangers called, the total of rangers grew to 15. Folk told them to bring
15?
personal weapons and whatever else they had. They came armed to the teeth with handguns, shotguns, and rifles. Folk was armed with a Browning
What the
9mm
fuck?
and a Colt Python 357 Magnum. Fucking Magnum. Who's the gangster now, bitch? Over a couple beers, Folk pitched to his buddies a defensive operation of his home. Stake out locations and wait. No first moves. If police come, disarm immediately, cooperate, and assist.
What
And all of
the
his buddies
fuck?
joyfully agreed and were fucking down. They thought maybe nothing will happen, but if it
Shit,
does,
they probably haven't had no action in a long time. They decided like, shit, if it's gonna be a day where we get some action, it's gonna be today. Yeah, the Crips messed up right there. That was a bad move.
zero
not playing
tolerance
with
for
nobody
dudes
in the
shooting gats and
military.
smoking Swisher Sweets. As the sun went down, the Rangers dispersed into their defensive positions, alert and observant of any and all activity.
Yo, they really
inside
set this
and
up like a
outside the
mission.
perimeter of the house. A few hours had passed as the Rangers held their positions. One Ranger observed a vehicle approaching in the distance at a slow rate of speed, at which point the vehicle shut off its headlights.
Oh,
Folk,
yeah,
with
it's
his
shootout
magnum in
time.
hand, returned the favor and turned out the lights in his house and in the yard. At 9:20 p.m., as the vehicle approached, someone within the vehicle fired a shot into the air. The house was now taking fire from the rear, where according to police reports, small caliber automatic gunfire was heard. The Rangers opened a shit ton of fire, but so did the Hilltop Crips. One of the Rangers, William Edwards, was posted on the front porch. When the shooting started, he hit the ground as a bullet slammed into the wall beside him. He and other Rangers returned fire, seeing figures running amongst parked cars on the other side of the
Shit,
street.
they probably
Ranger
wasn't even
Russell
expecting
Nolte,
that.
posted in the backyard, crawled forward as a shot hit the back of the house 3 feet over his head. Ranger Burr Settles was posted upstairs by the infamous controversial fucking video camera as a shot came through the window. The bullet grazed his head, and he received multiple lacerations on his face from the shattered glass.
Like the Crips was winning
Numerous
this.
muzzle flashes were now seen from the east. There were at least 16 shooters in 3 different locations. The Rangers again returned fire, while outside the assailants took cover amongst the parked cars, shooting over their shoulders, ducking down, shooting blindly. You know, stupid
shit. I wasn't expecting it to go like this. I'm thinking the Rangers gonna come out and destroy the whole scene, but it seems like these Crips was armed and dangerous. Shit. What the fuck?
Like gangsters do. At this time, a neighbor taking cover on her kitchen floor dialed 911. And just like the famous Wild West shootout at the OK Corral, it was over in minutes. 10 minutes. To be exact. The first police car came down the middle of the street, cherries and berries on, with his siren blaring. The Rangers dropped their weapons, but as that first patrol car arrived on scene, one of the Hilltop Crip gang members popped a round off, sending the patrol car reversing out of the scene so quickly, smoke was seen coming from the rear tires. Officers in the car reported hearing 50 to 60 shots in less than 1 minute. Shortly after, more cops pulled into the block, and the gangbangers ran.
Shit sound like a movie. Hilltop Crips. The aftermath. I want to know what happened.
The unarmed staff sergeant walked out the back door to his driveway and the alley behind his house. He felt someone behind and didn't fight. A hand shoved his head down and a voice ordered him to the ground. One gang member by the name of Frankie Strickland was cornered by a police canine and found to be in possession of 16 rounds of 9mm. He said he was holding them for a friend but couldn't remember the friend's name. You know, like a fucking liar. He also said the same thing about the pistol he was carrying. It was for a friend. Another suspect was carrying copper-headed rounds for a gas gun. Once the situation was under control and the officers learned about the Rangers' defensive operation, the responding sergeant of the Tacoma Police Department wasn't too happy about it. He lectured Folk and the other Rangers for not calling the police for assistance until shots were fired, and felt that the situation may have been avoided by calling 911 prior to the shooting getting started. Out of what was quite possibly a 35-man gunfight with over 300 rounds shot in the dark, no one was reported to be killed or injured.
Bro, 300 shots, 10 minutes of shooting, and nobody died? Wow, this is crazy. I've never heard of something like this ever in my life.
For 20 years, the official version of the shootout held that miraculously no one was hurt, but there were rumors injured gang members did not seek medical attention for obvious
that makes
reasons.
sense.
And some may.
Reality is that, I mean, you could obviously go to jail for that if you on papers and stuff like that, like probation or parole. If you get shot and you go to the hospital, but that kind of makes sense. Crips could have got shot, but they didn't go to the hospital and stuff like that, because then now you're involving the police and now you're put in a situation where they know that you was involved in that shooting, so it's not going to be good for you.
Even been mortally wounded. And according to Folk himself, during the firefight, one gang member rushed towards Folk's house. I guess he thought he was gonna John Wayne it, Folk remembered. One of the Rangers took aim and hit the gangster in the shoulder. The attacker staggered back and ran away. The moment goes unmentioned in police reports and witness accounts of the time. Unverified gossip holds that the wounded man was treated at a Seattle area hospital, over an hour away from Tacoma.
Yeah, that's the smartest thing he could have did.
Doug Sutherland, who was mayor at the time, pondered a declaration of a citywide version of martial law to combat the gang violence that immediately drew national attention. The city of Tacoma found the dollars to add more police officers to their department. Then Governor Booth Gardner even considered sending in the National Guard to Ash Street. The Hilltop Crip gang member who was arrested and found in possession of the 9mm and the pistol, Frankie Strickland, was the only man charged in connection with the shooting.
I wonder how much time he got.
Of second-degree assault and was later sentenced to 22 months in prison.
Bruh.
The military officially considered the incident a matter of self-defense for the off-duty Rangers. On February 9th, 2010,
what happened to the Rangers?
Police and The military officially considered the incident a matter of self-defense for the off-duty Rangers. On February 9, 2010, Tacoma police and FBI launched a major crackdown on the Hilltop Crip gang and charged 32 members with up to 50 crimes, everything from theft to attempted murder and drug sales. A few years back, a Tacoma police officer said something about the shootout. He said it was the single most important incident in Tacoma that caused a change in police policies and practice.
Yeah, I bet.
Staff Sergeant William Folk never moved away from Ash Street, and as he predicted, he was never promoted and left the Army in 1993. He still owns the property to this day. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure.
Yeah, so this is the end of the video right here. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments. If y'all from Tacoma, if y'all heard about this story, give me some insight, anything that was left out in the video. Overall, this was crazy. I wasn't even expecting it to go like this. I mean, Army Rangers, Crip gangs, I'm expecting the, you know, Army Rangers to be obviously highly equipped for this war. But it was crazy. I mean, thankfully, nobody died in the situation. Hopefully nobody died. I mean, you know, it's probably a lot of stuff that wasn't announced. People, I mean, as of what they said, only one person went to the hospital, and it was 1 hour away from Tacoma, just to avoid a lot of the stuff that would have came with that. But yeah, let me know in the comments your thoughts about it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Suggest any videos you'd like for me to react to, and I'll get it done for y'all. And yeah, to the next one. I'm out of here.